Welcome to Walker Tea Review. I'm Jason Walker, and today we're looking at a tea that has, as far as oolongs go, it's developed quite a name for itself already. It's called Tieguanin, but Tieguanin, just because you've tried one tea under that name, don't close the door on it if you felt like it wasn't the right one, because there are so many different angles you can take with the Tieguanin. There are Taiwanese Tieguanins, which can have slightly different characteristics from a mainland China Tieguanin. So, and there are different levels of, I should also mention, there are different levels of roasting that can go on. So, not all Tieguanins are created equal. We're going to look at one today and talk a little bit about it as we do. Got the regular equipment here ready to go. My Gaiwan covered bowl, Chinese style. I'm going to get out my spoon here and give this a scoop. Pull out enough here to cover that, say, inch to inch and a half bottom diameter of my Gaiwan. It's always great to have some useful and reliable tea equipment like a tea kettle. This is just a very basic tea kettle, but we work together and we work together well because I've trained my ear to kind of get an idea of when it starts to rumble, when it starts to boil, different levels of stages of boiling, and so that's been brought to that. Was able to bring that to a boil or get to the the right temperature basically by listening to the kettle there. And I'm going to cover this up so a little bit of water sticks out above the rim of the lid there. Let me set that aside and talk a little bit about this tea. This is from Teas Etc. I'm sorry, not Teas Etc. Correction, GrandTea. This is their MiXiangTGY. It is from the, if I remember correctly, this is from the mainland. You want to confirm that. I don't. Yeah, I believe this is mentioned on the website that this is an Anxi source for this tea. Anxi being in Fujian province of mainland China. You can find 25 grams for $2.50. Okay, and so let's go ahead and talk a little bit about this tea. It's already steeped quite a bit. Looks pretty good, but I'm going to let it sit for just a little bit longer to talk about this tea. First off, I want to get a smell of it. Okay. I like some of these, and this is one of those, I should say. This is one of those more darkly roasted or heavier roasted type Tieguanins. I've gotten to where I've come to appreciate the roasting aspect, the skill involved in that. This one is a little more roasted, and with that comes kind of one of the smells that comes out to me is kind of that arbequina. It's a Spanish type of olive, and the arbequina olive oil is distinctive from, say, just your regular old run-of-the-mill extra virgin olive oil that you may get off the grocery store shelf. There's a unique aroma here that's just really pleasant, and that's one of the main components really coming off of this. Nice aroma coming off to it, and again that comes with a little bit of a heat note to it, a little bit of a I guess there's a ciabatta bread, a lighter, fluffier type of bread smell coming off of that. Looking at these leaves, they are the general Tieguanin shape of being kind of crumpled into paper wads, although these are not as, some that I come across are a bit more rounded, rolled in their shape. This is just kind of crumpled up, pressed, sometimes not even that rounded, just kind of mashed into a shape, crumpled into a shape. I've actually got some pieces that they vary in size. Some of them look like portions of leaves that are wrinkled up. Some of them look like larger leaves that are wrinkled up. I don't see any, it's hard to tell yet, but I'm just not seeing a lot of indication of leaf sets here. Okay, these look like single leaves for the most part. Okay, so let me put that back in. As far as the shine or shimmer to this, nothing out of the ordinary, but not excessively dull either. at least in the sample that I'm holding here, I don't see a lot of stem pieces just yet. Just kind of look at the wet leaf and see what's happening there. And to do that, of course, time to give it a pour. Angle my lid over to the side. Middle finger and thumb holding the bowl there. Ring fingers helping a little bit too. My index fingers keeping the lid in place. So we get a nice smooth pour, just like so. Shake out those last few drops there. Looks good. Okay. Give that a... I'm not left-handed, so I'm going to have to do this with a right-handed swirl there. Now, talking a little bit about this wet leaf. Okay, stronger roasted notes are coming out. This is beginning to get a little bit of charred wood, kind of a dark, nearly smoky, not quite smoky, just blackened wood type oak or maple type smells coming off. A little bit of sweetness underneath that, and it's more of like a very light kind of caramel type sweetness there. Almost like the caramel, you're melting sugar and it's almost getting a little scorched, that kind of smell. Now pulling this out, I'm, for example, just my first finger here, got a little bit of a stem piece there. Let me see what else we've got. Leaf, a leaf here, not yet fully unfurled, fairly, still kind of got the wrinkles that are not willing to fully loosen up and come out. This particular leaf is a little bit leathery, a little bit thick. It's not a completely, it looks like the top portion, the very tip of it, some of the, say that upper fifth or so of it is missing. Let me set that back, and here's a more delicate leaf. Edges got a little, edges are a little bit of a rust or brownish color, indicating that there was some oxidation that took place on the jagged edge portion of the leaf here. And I say jagged edge because a tea leaf often has the edges of it are jagged, like it has little teeth there on it, and that's what I'm talking about. It doesn't have a smooth edge. And I'm just kind of poking around now as well, just to see what I can find as far as any leaf sets or pairs of leaves. Okay, here is one. I can't say that there are none. It's hard. They are not easily found. Here's one that is still connected together. Those are delicate leaves, easily torn, and in fact they have torn quite a bit. Just kind of pretty ragged. I'm also noticing the stem and ends of leaves that I find here. Often, in many cases, they have a fairly clean cut, smooth line there, like they have been they've been cut by clippers or shears, not necessarily machines. Well, I should say machine in the sense of hand clippers, in the sense of scissors or knives, a tool that's used, not just plucked by the fingertips. So I should say tool clipped or tool cut. Okay, so that takes care of our wet leaf, and moving on. Now, I point out the aspect of that tool cut, that's clean, straight cut, because it can be an indication that with a tear, you're less likely to get some of that oxidation to take place, some of that turning, some of that chemical reaction as that stem is actually squeezed by the clipping or cutting mechanism. With a tear with the tips of the fingers, it's actually breaking and tearing and not getting squeezed. So in general, that's a positive note. That's a positive aspect when it's hand plucked and got an uneven tear or break to it. Looking at this liquor, I like this nice amber, nearly coppery type color. Okay, it's got a fairly nice brightness to it. Clarity, you can see the oils or the little filaments there floating around in the liquor. Okay, This is getting some of those toasted notes coming out. It's kind of a you know, there's a honey aspect there in the sweetness. There's still some of the toasted, so I'm putting this together. You might get something like a honey roasted peanut there. Okay, you might get a little bit of indication of some kind of cedar chip as well. Okay, but let's give it, looking down through the cup, this is actually, looking down in the cup, it actually looks a little bit paler. It doesn't look as rich as some others that I was originally expecting. First impressions, what really hits me is right after I swallow, a sweetness builds up along the from the back edge, sides of my tongue to about midway up the middle of the edges of the sides of my tongue. That's building up into this kind of sweetness. Underneath that, there's a little bit of astringency. So the bottom of my tongue is trying to draw up, and the edges of the side there are just kind of relaxing as enjoying that sweetness. Nice balance, nice play there with the sensations. Texture, I was looking for something a bit more silk and a bit more of a solid coating over the tongue and the sides of the insides of my cheeks. Which is not as pronounced as some teas that I've had, some tiguanins that I've had. There are aromas there. There's again some of that kind of toasted, scorched wood type notes. The Arbequina, not so much. A little bit of a light kind of a honey type note coming out as well, but then again underneath that scorched wood aspect. So this one has the toasted, roasted notes. Well, let me just wrap it up here and say, as a whole, I would give this tea an 87. It's got, again, some flavor components to it, although they're not really, don't really balance well. There could have been a little bit more honey. There could have been, as far as texture goes, there could have been a smoother, more silken coating on the mouth. The positive, strongest aspect of this tea is that sweetness in the aftertaste, that immediate sweetness that hits on the side of the tongue. I have heard some tea experts who say that the sweetness, and the extent of the sweetness, the better the sweetness, the lower it develops in the throat and the back of the mouth and down towards the throat. So, I mean, from that logic, this one, like I said, hit more on the sides of the tongue and then towards the back. When I steep this tea off camera, multiple steepings, that I would say that sweetness in the aftertaste continued across multiple steepings, at least 4 steepings. I had this on a semi-empty stomach. It tended to build up a little bit more of the acidity faster than some of the other teas, and that's just kind of a general background. I can't specifically measure that. Just to say it seemed to be a bit more acidic than some of the others. So come back to Walker Tea Review again to look at this tiguanin versus other tiguanins, and again, you're looking for grades, you're looking for different qualities and comparisons here at Walker Tea Review.